You watch 100 Mile Drive, a channel where I teach you to buy the right car. And today I have a 2024 Alfa Romeo Tonale plug-in hybrid that has a 1.3 liter 4-cylinder engine, turbocharged, with electric motor sitting on the rear axle, so it's all-wheel drive standard. And the biggest question I have, how does this car feel to drive? And how does it stack up against the BMW products or even Lexus products that I brought on the channel? So I'm gonna take this car on the city streets, highway, and twisty roads, and at the end of the video, I'll tell you, would I personally buy this car? Like, is it even worth it? Let's dive in. And guys, if you're watching 100 Mile Drive for the first time, well, this is a channel where I say before you buy a car like this or any other car, do not settle for a 5-minute test drive at the dealership block. Instead, rent it for a day from places like Turo and drive it for at least 100 miles on city streets, highway, and twisty roads to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel: how does it feel to drive? And first, a quick walk around this Alfa Romeo Tonale. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this front fascia that Alfa Romeo uses, but that's their iconic looks. And this car, I guess, looks very much in line, a bit more stylish than, let's say, Stelvio or Giulio. Let me know what you think about the looks of the Alfa Romeo. Do you like it or not? Because especially from ladies, I hear a lot that they do not like the looks of Alfa Romeos in general. Now, this rides on fairly comfortable wheel tire package. It's a 225 55 R18. Although these tires feel not necessarily the best, I'm going to discuss them as soon as we head out. And these are non-run flats. Note that these are non-run flat tires. And the rear of the car, well, I think this is what looks the best. I first saw this car on LA Auto Show last year, and I kind of liked it, especially in the blue color. I think it looked great. Now let's do a quick door sound check, and we're gonna get on the inside. Door feels pretty solid and pretty heavy, actually. I like it. It feels European, very much European. All right, let's get on the inside. And now getting on the inside, closing the door. Now immediately I want to address the quick styling of this car. I think it looks pretty stylish. I actually like how it looks. I think they did pretty good job here with some buttons. Thank you for keeping buttons. The screen could be a little bit bigger. Now, I don't like that the responsiveness of the screen is a little laggy. In some cases it's fine, but in some cases when you want to go in some menu, it's a little laggy, especially when you click on something. It takes time for something to appear. Resolution is okay. Like BMW, I think, is a much better, more responsive screen. I love the steering wheel on this car and the fact that the start-stop button is here. So let me press it once. One thing, everything beeps in this car 3 times louder. This is the only car where I hear all the beeps are so loud. Even the guy who rented this car told me that he finds it funny, and I find it funny too. Now, as far as the interior quality, there's a lot of plastic materials here, and as soon as I started driving it, this piece, you can hear now, see, all this squeaks. This is a brand new car. Look, it's only 2,000 miles, but these things already have this squeaking noises. In fact, it a little bit moves here. Even here, listen to this. So all this car, imagine at 30,000 miles, all this will be squeaking and rattling, even though it's pretty nicely molded. I mean, nothing moves as such, but what is this? Like, why I have this sound? Some soft materials here. So the quality, I don't think it's on par with the BMW. This part is it's a hotter, it's a soft touch, but you know, on the hotter side. It's not like a plastic, so it is some kind of I don't know what material is this, but it is not like plastic. There's a piece here which is nice at night. It illuminates blue, or you can change it ambient lighting. This piece also, you can press on it, some stitching. Now there's more hard plastic here. This soft, but inside is a very cheap material, I think, that causes these squeaks and rattles. Overall, the seats, okay, let's talk about seats. Seats are on the firmer side, but they're super supportive. I like this logo here. They're actually very supportive and they feel nice. They feel actually better than in my X3 M40i. I love the seats more. Now, here's another squeak and rattle. When we're gonna drive, you're probably not gonna hear in a video, but this thing squeaks a lot. So I don't know. These minor things in a brand new car, it kind of deteriorates from the luxury experience. Okay, enough of that. Let's go ahead and drive it. And first I'm gonna drive Alfa Romeo Tonale in the city. In fact, I'm gonna launch it in 3 different modes. First, I'm gonna launch it in D mode. It's the most sporty DNA mode, so we're gonna go ahead and drive, and then we're gonna see the acceleration. No cars behind me, all good. Let's go. And this is all-wheel drive, quick shifts. All right. So we're not gonna launch it like really hard, of course, but just to get a feel for the acceleration. Now, officially, they claim it's a 0 to 60 is about 6 seconds. Car and Driver magazine was able to launch it at 5.5 seconds. Now, how does it feel in the real world? It does feel quick, let me tell you that. Of course, it's not overly fast, but for what it is, it feels actually pretty quick. So let's do one more launch in the same D mode. All right, stop, and let's go. All right, yeah. Actually, transmission feels pretty good, kind of good, when you launch it quick. Now I'm gonna discuss transmission more in details. Now let's go ahead into the N mode. We're gonna launch it in N mode, and this is a more comfort setting, right? One thing I'm gonna discuss, this car, what I call, has a bipolar personality. And I'll tell you why I say that. Bipolar character, all right? It's not a human. So here's the stop. We're doing a stop, and then let's go in N mode. Now, obviously, it's more tuned down, quick shifts. Yeah, it's decent. It's fairly decent. And then let me go ahead and put it in A mode, and this is gonna be a full electric mode. Now let's take a few corners here. And now we're gonna discuss the cornering and basically handling of this car. Like, how does it stack up, let's say, against, you know, cars like a BMW. I'm gonna do it in part number 3 where I'm gonna take it to the twisty road. So let me launch it here in full electric mode. So stop right here, and let's go. And of course, it's not as fast. It's on the slower side, but it's not bad. One thing I like about driving it in full electric mode, and by the way, it has around 32, 33, 35 miles of electric only range, that it feels more effortless. Okay, acceleration and or driving in general, especially in the city or when you run your errands in full electric mode, feels kind of pleasant for this car. Now, when we go to N mode, that's what most people will be driving it, and that's in the hybrid mode. Now, my biggest complaint from this car is that the engine sounds kind of drony. I almost had a feeling when I first started driving this car that this has a CVT transmission. I literally had to Google it, because you know, CVT transmissions nowadays, they also shift gears. It's not like in the past, it was just like a 1-speed. So I literally thought this has a CVT transmission because the engine doesn't sound as good. Transmission in certain speeds, especially in some mid-range speeds when you need to pick up, it does this lot of whining, so it doesn't give that premium feel. Like BMW, for example, they amplify their sound, but they put ZF transmission, which is fantastic. Okay, they in fact got rid of their dual clutch transmissions in favor of a torque, basically conventional transmission that shifts just amazingly in pretty much any car you put it in. Here, the 6-speed automatic, it does the job, but to me this looks more like Honda, Toyota, maybe Lexus, rather than, oh, there's a squirrel, a BMW or Porsche, for example, or even Audi. This does not give you that premium feel of that. Now next, let's talk about steering in this car. Now steering is what's also kind of, I'll say, weird, because in a way it's not bad. It's, you know, what it does, which is weird, let me explain that, is that when you stop or at the very low speeds, it becomes super light. Okay, it's very light, that's probably how you want it. Now when you start driving a little bit, it tightens up quite a bit. And now yesterday I was delivering some stuff, and I had to do a lot of driving within the communities at lower speeds. I had to brake, reverse, all these things. And the steering just drove me crazy because it kept switching low, you know, stiff, like light, stiff. And then I don't want that. I want it to be either just light, or I want it to be, you know, like a BMW type, you know, a little heavier. I don't want it to like do, you know, shifting at low speeds, okay? So it's not even at the freeway speed, it's even at the lower speeds, it does that. Like now it's super light, but I go a little bit faster and here it's already tightening up. And you know, this is what I don't like about the steering. That's why it has very unsettled kind of manners in the steering, and that's what kind of made me, it got me confused actually. Like what do I think about this car? How does it feel? Because it keeps switching like this. Next, let's talk about suspension. So I'm gonna go ahead and drive it on the bumpy roads, and that's where it's kind of interesting how suspension feels in this car. And now driving on my favorite Tampa Avenue on the imperfected road and hitting a lot of these imperfections and like potholes. And let me tell you this, suspension in this car tuned very nicely. It is not firm, it is not soft, it's just right. It's right in the middle. Actually, LA roads has, you know, a lot of beat up roads, and driving this car will be pretty pleasant. In fact, I even think this will be better than the X1 BMW. I only drove the previous gen and that felt to me pretty firm and not as pleasant. Let's say X3 is a much better car, where this feels pretty comfortable. The only problem I have is tires in this car. Now, I also thought this car has run flat tires because the actual impact with the road when it hits those imperfections is a little harsh. And usually this is what you get from run flat tires. So I think these Goodyear tires are not maybe the best tire in terms of, you know, comfort. Maybe if you were to go with the Michelin or some maybe Continental tires, they have a little more softer rubber, then that contact with the road would be smoother, even more smoothened. But in terms of shocks, they do fantastic job. I think for this size and class of the car, they got it right. In terms of suspension, they absolutely got it right. Now, how does it feel driving it in, you know, on twisty roads, cornering abilities, all that stuff? We're gonna talk on the twisty roads, and again, compare it to, let's say, BMW, just see how is it different. But as far as driving it here in the city, is very comfortable, and we're gonna discuss how does it feel driving it on the highway as well. So overall, is it easy to live with this car? My answer to this, it depends. I said this car has a bipolar character because when you drive it in the gas mode, yes, it's quick, but it kind of feels drony and it kind of feels like it's not as effortless. Like the acceleration is not as like light, you know, like a BMW acceleration for their 4-cylinder engine feels really nice, satisfying. This one, because it's, you know, paired with electric motor, plus sounds drony, I don't think transmission does a good job. It's not as crisp. It doesn't feel as crisp. So the whole package to me feels almost like Lexus NX, honestly, more than the BMW X1, even though X1, you know, is a regular car. So I'm not thrilled. I'm not excited about this car. Let me tell you this. I'm not excited how it drives in gas only mode. I'm not excited how it drives in hybrid mode. We're talking about the entry-level luxury car, right? That's why we need to judge this car also by how it does things. And that's what people want in the luxury car. They want luxury car to do things in a more premium way than the regular cars like Toyotas and Hondas, right? Now, brakes in this car are okay. It does slide lean forward, but they're pretty strong. No complaints about brakes. There is a regen now, especially when you go to D mode. It does pretty aggressive regen, so it kind of helps to slow down the car, and it's pretty solid. Brakes pretty solid. Actually, kind of like brakes in this car. Now, in terms of shifting from gas mode to, you know, electric mode, all that is fairly seamless. I mean, seamless in a sense, it does it just fine. Like whenever you not accelerating, cruising, let's say in a hybrid mode, it does switch to electric only mode quite often, and you know, it helps you with the gas mileage. Now, the issue I have, like I said, whenever the gasoline motor kicks in, you know, it just sounds that drony, like, you know, like it. I don't know, man. I want to drive X550e at this point just to see how BMW did theirs plug-in version. Of course, it's going to be a much more expensive car. There's no more X330e. I think they're promising to bring it back, but I don't know if they ever do. But again, it does everything all right. It's just not as exciting, it's not as premium. The only kind of premium thing I found in this car is suspension. So now let's go ahead and drive this car on the highway and see if this is a good cruiser overall. And I'm about to merge the highway. I don't know if you can hear this clip rattling on the right side. I'm hitting more imperfected roads. Like I said, suspension feels pretty good. I just think it needs better, softer tires, and it will be fantastic. All right, merging the highway. Another cool thing I found in this car is the blinker, the indicator. The sound of it is so different than any other car. It's cool. I'll probably record it separately and show you. All right, merging the highway. All right, there's a red light here. Stop. Let's go in the D mode and just floor it. This on ramp. Yeah, it's you know, decent power. Let's merge here. Now the first thing we want to talk about on the highway is the sound insulation in this car, and how does it feel, first of all, right? And it feels okay. I'll say below average, like, or average. Let's just say average. In a sense, cars like X3, you know, a little higher class, have better sound insulation. Now, if you guys want me to bring X1 on the channel, the 2024 model, let me know. I'll go ahead and review that as well. So overall, it feels kind of average. You do hear cars around you. There is no excessive wind noise around the windshield. I don't hear anything excessive. I do hear my tires though, a little bit. Yeah, so now let's measure it. We're going 65. It's about 65. So it's not bad actually. It's kind of average. So I don't have any complaints. Now, next thing, is it comfortable cruiser? Let's go to N mode. And the answer is yes. I spent yesterday whole evening driving this car. I spent some time today also running the errands, getting ready for the new year, did a lot of grocery shopping. So I really kind of dove in the environment of what would it be like to live with this car, right? And that's what I encourage you guys to do. Because let me tell you this, when I first picked up this car, the first 5-10 minutes, I was like, what is this car? What is this car? Like, how does it feel to drive? Because this car has a very different kind of personality, character than pretty much any other car that I've driven before. It takes time to understand it. It kind of builds on you. So you definitely want to spend more time with it. So yes, it is a comfortable cruiser. You can certainly spend, like, you know, long hours driving this car to any of your national park. It's going to be no problem. Also, I like the space. Overall, it's a compact size crossover, but space-wise, it's not bad. I had my wife with me yesterday, and you know, even the rear room has a good size. You know, for me, I'm 6'2", and I just barely was touching the roof line. Otherwise, it felt okay. The seats kind of on the firmer side. They're not super comfortable for the long ride. The rear seats, front seats, pretty good. They're firm, but they feel fine. You can spend long hours in them. All right, last thing I want to do is overtake some cars on the road, just to kind of see what is the mid-range power like. And one thing, it does this kick down. Let's just assume you're gonna drive mostly in the hybrid mode. It does this kick down. Yes, it has 350 pound-feet of torque. The only thing, there's a delay in this kick down, right? So my biggest complaint about some hybrids and plug-in hybrids is that they don't do everything as good as the gasoline only car does. Let's say, you know, BMW X3, for example, right? I know I should compare to X1, but I just want to make a point that it does everything well in terms of the transmission, the turbo engine. Everything feels crisp and nice. And it doesn't do everything as good as the electric only car, because it's not as fast, it's not as torquey as a, you know, it's kind of down version of the electric car. So it's kind of like in between, okay? It's kind of like your sandwich type of a car that doesn't do good that and doesn't do good this. So it's, you know, if it works for you, if you drive this car and it works for you, then that's fine. But I'm not finding this car as a car for enthusiasts. That's my point. It's just all right. It's just all right. So let me go ahead and take it on the twisty roads, and we're going to discuss the safety, handling aspects of this car, and again, how does it stack up against products like BMW. And now I'm gonna drive Alfa Romeo Tonale on the twisty roads. I am in the D mode, most dynamic mode, and we're gonna see the safety of this car. Let's go. This is the place where we're gonna put everything a little bit more to the stress to see, is this a safe car? Like, what is this car made of? That's why I always bring whatever the car it is, whether it's a Toyota Corolla, I would bring it onto twisty roads because that shows me what engineers did with this car. Because you put a little bit more to the stress, everything, the engine, suspension, transmission, brakes, everything gets to work together. And then the first corner. Now this car weighs around 4,100, 4,133, I believe, pounds curb weight. And you can feel a little bit the weight overall, but it's not bad. It's not bad actually. So we don't have to go fast in the twisty roads as since we're going downhill. So we get to see what would happen to this Alfa Romeo Tonale if somebody were to brake in front of us. Like, how would it behave if it were to overtake the car? And let me tell you this, steering in dynamic mode feels pretty sharp. Actually, I like it. It's pretty direct. Here it doesn't do that funky switching between light and, you know, it's just heavy steering, and it feels good here. Now, suspension, the most important thing, suspension, right? How does it feel here? And let me tell you this, on the twisty road, this car feels good. It rides on 225 55 tires. I mean, these are not sporty tires. These tires are for comfort, yet it grips really well. There's a slight body shift of the car, but then it just stays. It stays really well planted through the corner. So this car inspires confidence. So another corner here, and yes, nice. Does a really good job. Let me tell you this, a lot of cars with much better tires and firmer suspension will do worse than this car. So this is where it shows the character of Alfa Romeo here. And I think if this car was gasoline only with a little bit less weight, better tires, it would just be perfect, you know. Yeah, it grips really well and it stays pretty solid through the corners. Man, this is where cars like this gain more respect, because you understand that, okay, there is some, you know, engineering behind this that make this car stable. So this car tells me that driving it in more dangerous situation, when somebody brakes and you have to maneuver, it'll behave, it'll stay on the road. It's not gonna dance around. The chassis is very well planted. There's no funky moves. Brakes are solid. Brakes are pretty solid. There is some extra weight in this car. You can feel that, but it manages it. It manages it. But you could tell there is some weight. But man, this is fun. This car is fun. I don't even think X1 BMW is gonna drive like this. I would really have to see, because this is not bad. And in D mode here in twisty roads, we actually taking the best out of it, right? We're taking the sport mode. So the car shows its character, and it is grippy, it is planted. So what I like about this suspension is that it is comfortable, but at the same time, it is sporty. So this car gained my respect actually when I test drove it here on the twisty roads. That's where I started respecting this car more. Because now I understand that this car is capable. If anything happens, if you know, you want to have a little bit of fun with it, despite being comfortable, despite having regular tires and not even wide tires. So let me go ahead and summarize it and tell you what I personally buy this car. And I just completed my dynamic drive of Alfa Romeo Tonale, and let me tell you this. First of all, do I feel tired after spending 2 days with this car? Or especially today? And the answer is no. Even though the seats are firm, they're still okay. They're supportive and pretty comfortable. But if you have lower back issues, make sure to rent this car and check it out. Now, overall impression after spending, like I said, 2 days with this car is just okay. Like, I don't have this feeling like after I'm gonna drop off this car that I'm gonna like wanna go and look up the deals and like I felt excited, like I wanna come back and buy it. No, this is just car, like I feel like it's a necessity kind of thing, right? Like, let's say you need a plug-in hybrid, you need it to save fuel. Maybe, you know, you'll get a really good deal, like get this a lot of dealers discounting this car like $5,000 or more. So you can get this lease special below at the $400 with few $1,000 down payment. So you can get this cheaper than Toyota, let's say RAV4 or Honda CR-V. And if you're planning just to lease, not like buy it, because I have no idea how this is gonna stay up long term, then this car you could be considered. In terms of what I think about this car, I think it didn't do everything really well. Like, I love suspension in this car. I think suspension has done really well in this car. Steering, I have a very mixed feeling. Engine and transmission, like I said, they feel droney and they don't feel as crisp like a BMW ZF transmission. So it kind of left me there wondering. It almost made me feel like I'm driving a Honda CR-V hybrid. So after driving this car, I'm kind of like in this mixed territory, whether I like it or not. But like I said, if you need a car like this, if it's more of a necessity, then you can consider it. Would I personally buy it? And the answer is no. I like some clarity in the cars, so I would probably either get full electric or full gasoline car. This car did not convince me that I need a plug-in hybrid. Sorry. My final feel score for this car is 6.5 out of 10. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're considering it. Let me know if you want me to test drive X1, BMW, maybe Lexus UX or NX 450 Plus hybrid, the plug-in hybrid. Let me know in your comments. And if you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, and I'll catch you in the next video.